you doing? Heather here. I wanted to show you some of the projects I've been working on since last week. I've been focusing on cowls. A lot of the cowls that I've been doing are based on a pattern that I found. I'll show the link in the description if I can find it. And they are based on a 100 stitch foundation chain. I really liked it. It was really simple. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to flip the camera so that you can see the first one I did with this stitch. This is the first one that I did, and it is in Joanne. No, it's not a Joanne. It's a Hobby Lobby yarn. It's called Soft and Sleek. I don't have the actual label right now, but I'll show you a little bit more of the stitch detail. Here you can see that the bottom starts with front post and back post double crochet, and then it goes into a half double crochet with a chain space of 1, and then solid double crochet, then goes up here to these beautiful puff stitches, another row of half double crochet, and then the pattern just repeats and then ends with front post and back post. So this one I used a variegated yarn. This was the first one I made. It's very beautiful. This second one I made is the same pattern, but I played with the color work. Now for the color work, I prefer 90% of the time I like to use the invisible join, which isn't always quite invisible to a well-trained eye, but the color play here and this one is, I just love it. And this is mixed acrylic yarn. Most of my stash is acrylic yarn, different brands, Red Heart and Mainstays, and I love this yarn. I'm not quite sure which each one of these was. I think this purple was, I love this yarn. But I've been trying to challenge myself to just only use my stash this year. Also, my husband has made it a lovely challenge because I'm not able to buy any yarn this year until I use up my stash. We're trying to be more aware of how we spend money. This is the third cowl I made. Now, it still has the basic foundation of 100 stitches, and I used a size H hook for every single one of these. I'm not really sure what the millimeters for that is right now. I just know that it's one of my favorite hooks to use with projects like this and worsted weight yarn. I find that the eye hook just makes everything too loose. Anyways, we have our front post double crochet front and back to make the ribbing, and then instead of the pattern suggestions, I just used it as a base to learn a new stitch. Now this is the tulip stitch. I've seen it a lot in a lot of different blankets. I'm planning on making another one where I use variegated yarn for each tulip. So these tulips are actually popcorn stitches, which gives them a very, very lovely 3D kind of thing. Now I live in a very, very cold state, so I'm not sure how this is going to work with the, holes in the wind. It's never bad without the wind, So I'm going to pause this right quick, and then I'm going to put this one on and show you what it looks like. All right, so it's definitely really, really bulky. I would say that it will probably soften up quite a bit after it's washed. But this kind of acrylic yarn tends to be very sturdy. Okay, I will put on the other one I made, and then I'll show you a project that is still in progress. The simplicity of the stitches in the second cowl that I made really lends itself to more flexibility. I hadn't really thought of that too much because I'm not a person who really designs a lot of cowls. I like to focus on amigurumi, but I figured I needed to branch out a little bit. So what I'm gonna do probably is hand wash the one with the tulips and see if that softens it a bit. There was quite a bit of red heart that I used in the tulip cowl, and that red heart is a great yarn. So many colors, and it's really one of my favorites. It's one of the ones I started crocheting with when I began my journey of crocheting about 11 years ago. I've been crocheting almost every day for a little over 11 years. It'll be like 12 years in May. There's a story behind that I might share later. So that should soften it, especially if I use vinegar. I like to use natural soaps because we have skin allergies. That's one reason I don't wear makeup, because my skin will break out. And I don't want to revisit my teenage years of pizza face kind of stuff. I finally have clear skin. I'm 37. It wasn't... Anyways, off on a tangent. So I'm going to show you the project that I have been working on, and then we'll talk about some of my goals and plans for this channel and for my business. Maybe by sharing them with you, I can become a little bit more accountable and learn how to provide better customer service and attract more customers. So, judging by the tulip cowl, I would say that this is probably going to be a pretty sturdy cowl. This stitch is called the thistle stitch, and I found it in a book that I bought. Hold on just a second. Found it in this book that I bought a while ago, but haven't really used much because I really like to make amigurumi. I'll show you some of my creations in an upcoming video for that. I don't really have that many left. I always give away my stuff. Anyways, the thistle stitches in this book. This book is by... Who's it by? Well, let's just open the cover and look. It's a very handy book, though. I believe there's so many things you can do with crochet. Let's see, 500 crochet stitches. The Ultimate Crochet Stitch Bible is published by St. Martin's Griffin of New York. And I don't really think there's a particular author, but the stitches are very beautifully laid out here. It's a really good book. It has instructions and the introduction about how to crochet. Every single one that they show you has a graph as well as written directions and a color picture. It's definitely worth the money if you're looking for a good book. I'm sorry I can't really find the author. However, you can probably screenshot this ISBN. I can also provide the ISBN in the description below. So it's definitely a good investment. The amount that you can learn from this book is just phenomenal. Anyways, the tulip stitch was in this book, and I modified the pattern. The original pattern, oops, sorry about that. The original pattern only calls for about 5 rows in between each flower. And the flowers, are all supposed to be the same color. She only used one color for her whole pattern work, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit. So what I did was, you can see if you look very closely here, there are 6 rows in between each flower row. And in these flower rows, what I've done is the loops are made here in the second row of green. So really there's about 7 stitches in between each one, 7 rows here, and this is where I make the flower in this first row, and then the loops are made in the second. I'm sorry if I did not correctly show you that. I bury in these stitches, I use a technique I learned from tapestry crochet, and I bury the purple or whatever flower color I want in this here. When I get to this part, I change the color, and then I do the 6 double crochet and kind of even them out and space them out. I tweaked the direction, so I had to kind of figure this part out, the spacing and stuff. But I'm pretty sure this is going to end up being just as sturdy as the tulip cowl. So although these are going to be on sale in my Etsy store, I'm not sure that I would probably use this stitch again for a cowl, but it sure is beautiful. I used different tones of brown to make dirt, and this looks like a garden row. So in my next video, I will probably show you the finished result of the rabbit that I had been previously working on. All right, so now I'm going to talk quickly about some goals for my business. I have been trying to start a crochet business and make it successful for a long time. The problem is I don't really know how to price my things, and I'm learning. I'm learning to price them for what they're worth, because the cowls I showed you, each one of those represents many hours. Now, I understand that a lot of people aren't going to be willing to pay me as if I was making an hourly wage. That's okay. I can find a price that's fair for me and affordable for an item that's handmade like this. I have cats, so it's not a pet-free home, but it is a smoke-free home. So I have been doing this every single day for the last 11 years. I know what I'm doing. So the prices are definitely worth, they're going to be a bargain for the skills I provide. We'll just leave it at that. I know what I'm doing. I love what I do. And I always have someone in mind when I'm doing it. And that person is you. I want to make beautiful things that are easy to take care of and last a long time. I want my customers to get their money worth. And I want them to be enjoyed. So, I'm still learning, but it's all good. I'm hoping to make another video on Thursday. Can't promise that. I do have my other 2 jobs that I work. I also homeschool and have a husband. So, you really gotta just learn to find the balance in life. It's not easy, but you can do it. See you on the flip side.